So it's been brought to my attention that the last video got cut off prematurely. So I just want to review quickly the shifts in the demand curve. Now, we've discussed this. We discussed this in our full day last term, but just to go over it to be clear, that any shift in the actual demand curve is a reflection of the non-price related factors that can influence levels of demand, the level of consumer demand for a product. So if we were looking at this particular product, a number of things could have caused this shift to the right that has taken place from here to here. So from D1 to D2, there could have been a population size increase. So now there are more people available to demand the product. Demand has increased. The income level of consumers has increased, thereby increasing the demand for the product, moving it to the right. Perhaps the price of the substitute went up, so now there is more demand for this particular product, moving it to the right. Perhaps the price of the complement has come down, so people are more willing to buy this good, so it's moved across again to the right, an increase in demand. The other thing that could have happened is that there was an expected future price increase. So consumers are wanting to buy them now before this price rise takes place, increasing demand in the short term, moving the curve to the right. Or perhaps the product has just become more favorable in fashion, the trendy thing, and tastes and consumer preferences have had a swing toward this particular product, increasing demand. Now, the overall effect that these non-price related factors have by moving the whole demand curve from D1 to D2 is that essentially, if you look at Q1 here, on the old curve, they were buying that many at this price. Let's say Q1 is 50 and P1 is $30, for example, just as an example. Now, 50 are being demanded at this price, price 2. Let's say it's $50. So the same quantity is being bought, but at a higher price now, according to the new demand schedule. Now, a similar thing can happen when there's been a decrease in demand, except that, in the words of Beyonce, all the movements will be to the left. So we're going from D1 to D2 again, except that D2 is now moving inwards, closer to both axes here. Now, the opposite of all of the factors we discussed earlier could have caused this decrease in demand. And that is what this force is called, a decrease in demand, moving D1 left to D2. Population size has decreased, less demand. Income level of consumers has decreased, less demand. The price of the substitute has come down, so demand has moved toward the substitute, reducing the demand for this product. The price of the complement has gone up, which has moved demand for this product down. It's decreased, moved to the left. They expect future prices to decrease, so they're going to wait. So demand in the short term has moved inward, has decreased. Or perhaps the product is just no longer fashionable or in favor, and so demand has decreased for this product. Now, the overall effect, unlike the previous example where demand increased and you were buying the same quantity at a higher price, this time consumers are buying less at the same price. So, at this particular price, P1, the old demand curve had them buying this many or willing to buy this many. Let's say 100. So let's say Q1 was 100 and P1 is $30. Demand has decreased, so now we're looking at, say, 70 units at the same price being sold. Now, when we talk about the price-related factors that move along the demand curve rather than moving the demand curve, so our contractions and our expansions, those kind of moves are going to be determined by how elastic the demand is for a particular product. Now, what we mean by elastic or price elasticity is how much demand changes, how responsive, how sensitive is consumer demand to a price change. That is what elasticity is. So if you think about an elastic band, how much can you make it stretch? So if you can make it stretch a lot, that's very elastic. That means that consumers are going to be very sensitive to a price change. If you can't make it stretch, that means it's inelastic, that it doesn't matter if there's been a price change, same quantity is still in demand. And this is going to be different for different types of goods, and we'll talk more about that shortly.